Hello, respected viewers. I won't be the first one to say that the Pope is dying. It's blatant that Pope Francis is not much longer for this world, thinking he's probably going to die within a week. I could be wrong. Perhaps he'll rally and die a few months later. I'd be very surprised if he sees 2026. I'd like to be wrong. I think he's one of the best popes there's been. But there we go. The 88-year-old pontiff is in hospital in Rome, and he's got pneumonia in both lungs. The doctors are saying the situation is complicated. Presumably, he's waived his right to medical confidentiality. So the Vatican's press office has kept the public apprised of this. Why? They want to soften the blow. They want the billion Catholics worldwide to grow accustomed to the idea that Pope Francis is going to die. It's a bit easier to take if it doesn't come as a bolt from the blue. If you've got a while to acclimatize, get used to the idea he's not going to be around very much longer at all. So what was his real name? Is it Jorge Bergoglio? Born into Argentina to Italian parents, the first pope from the American continent, the first pope from outside of Europe for many centuries. I believe there were some popes from North Africa in the Dark Ages. So yeah, his pontificate is drawing to a close. Of roughly 180 people who've sat on the throne of St. Peter, only two have ever retired, the other being the late Pope Benedict XVI. The others have served until death. So as an 88-year-old, he's beyond life expectancy. He's got excellent medical care. And remember, unmarried men die earlier than married men or women, married or unmarried. So I would think he's, being abstemious about drugs, drank precious little, probably not too much high risk of STDs. So lived a very healthy life, not terribly overweight, but he's been wheelchair bound for a few years. So the College of Cardinals will meet after the funeral, and there's already perfervid speculation about who the papabile are. That's popable in Italian, as in who the runners and the riders are. Remember, from it was the 1520s until 1978, every single pope ever elected was an Italian, because it's the College of Cardinals that elects them. It's an electoral college. It's not an education institution. And cardinals are usually archbishops. It goes priest, bishop, archbishop, cardinal. So some archbishops are made cardinal, others are not. Theoretically, even a bishop can be a cardinal, even an ordinary priest, blah, blah, blah. So the cardinals invariably elect one of themselves to ascend the throne of St. Peter. But theoretically, any Catholic man could be elected pope. Now, I'm baptized and confirmed a Catholic. I kept my phone switched on last time there was a papal conclave for the call that never came. But I'm holding out hope that this time it might be the Catholic Church's lucky day when they get me to don the papal tiara. I wouldn't be the worst Bishop of Rome that's ever been. All right, so they'll meet in the Sistine Palace in the Vatican City, where the Sistine Chapel is, with that magnificent ceiling painted by Michelangelo. And they will be locked in there, the conclave, conclave, with the key. As in, so no phones, no computers, no newspapers, no books, no communication with the outside world, unless it's a case of necessity, not allowed out unless it's to go to hospital for an emergency or there's a fire. And the food we brought into them, they can send their clothes and bed sheets out for laundry, but that's it. No contact with the outside world, so they're not to be swayed. Someone offering douceur, or someone threatening them, or trying to convince them he's an excellent candidate, some attempt at suasion that someone else is terrible, whatever. The other thing is to concentrate, get on with the job, the task in hand. Don't be watching telly, don't be phoning a friend, don't be reading a book, discuss. And they vote, and I don't know what the voting procedure is, but they burn their ballots. And if they haven't elected it, the black smoke comes up. I don't know what they burned to make it white in the old days. Was it some tally sticks, white smoke came up that they've actually elected a pope? We're getting a decision very soon. It could take hours, it could take months. The past few papal conclaves have just taken about 2 days. And then as the dean of the College of Cardinals will go to the loggia, that balcony over St. Peter's Square, St. Peter's Basilica, and he will announce, Annuncia vobis gaudium minum, habemus papam. I announce to you great joy, we have a pope. The what does it say? Eminentissimum cardinalum, whatever, ac reverendissimum cardinalum Georgium Sancta Romane Ecclesia Callahanum, qui sibi nomen imposuit pium tredecimum. Okay, saying the most reverend Lord as in what George Callahan, Cardinal of the Roman Catholic Church or the Holy Catholic Church, who takes to himself the name Pius the 13th or whatever, and he always takes a new name, okay? Because the Francis, it was called Jorge, something like that. So a new pope will be announced, and who will be wearing the papal white robes already. And when Benedict XVI came along, I smelt a rat. How do they know his measurements? Was it a fix-up? How do they make that within like half an hour of his election? Well, the Vatican tailors, they prepare 3 papal suits, one for a small pope, one for a medium-sized one for a larger man, so that it will roughly fit whoever is, because they don't know who's going to be elected, what the measurements are. After that, they can all have tailor-made precisely to specifications. Later on, wearing red shoes and all the rest of it. So he will be the Bishop of Rome, the Patriarch of the West, the servant of the servants of God, various other papal titles. Sadly, no sedia gestatoria, the seat of acts, where they're carried around by 8 gentlemen of the Vaticans. The idea is that so who could see and be seen way up high above the crowd, but to move through the crowd. But then they got the Pope Mobile under John Paul II, the Polish Pope. So who's it going to be next? Well, obviously we don't know. There was fervent speculation last time it would be a non-white Pope, and the center of the church moving to Africa. Remember, Africa's population is going to more than double in the next century, so it may well be a Cardinal Fridolin Abongo Besungu, okay, who's from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Got over 100 million people, about 70 million of them are Catholics, also the largest French-speaking country in the world. So he thinks that the Pope has been too much of a reformer, yeah, and he said he will not bless same-sex couples or unmarried couples. You want to get married, you get married. There's possibly an Asian Pope, okay, so one from the Philippines, but he's been said he's more sympathetic to the gay community and so on, and says that the church was not good enough to divorce people, and that's driven people away from the church. So Cardinal Erdo of Hungary, he's considered another possibility. Now we can't rule out an Italian, Pietro Parolin, Raymond Burke, an American cardinal who's seen as an arch conservative, Cardinal Wim Eijk, as in Willem. So William, Eijk means Ike. I mean, means, what's the word? Means oak. So he's also a hardliner, say no blessings towards civil weddings and so forth. Yeah, and especially if it's a second marriage, if it wasn't annulled, well, there can only be one marriage. If your ex-spouse is living, he or she is still your spouse, and so forth. Yeah, so he's seen as quite liberal, Francis, saying, well, who am I to condemn homosexuals, and women who've had abortions can be forgiven. And of course they can be forgiven if they're penitent and try and do something to make up for it. And I don't mean that in religious terms. She can never ever bring back her child, but she could try to save other children. And obviously men are just as guilty of this. If he's coerced her, if he's cajoled her, if he's persuaded her, if he's expedited it in any manner by driving her there, by paying for the murder of his child, then he's just as guilty, perhaps more guilty, because he doesn't have to go through the pain and discomfort of pregnancy. So yeah, we should have a new pope. So if he died today, for example, funeral about a week, conclave after that, we might have a new pope in 8 days from now. Let's see. Okay, but the Catholic Church could do so much more by selling off all its priceless treasures, jewelry, pyxes, golden chalices, and so forth, churches scarcely used, and giving the money to help the needy. Well, thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate to PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodaloo.